DCEC 1062 sa Mega Manila, DWIN 1080 sa Northern Luzon, DZEL 1260 sa Southern Tagal, DYFX 1305 sa Visayas at DXED 1224 sa Southern Mindanao. Ito ang Radyo Agila. Mabilis, malakas, pumapagaspas. Mga bagong kaalaman sa siyensya at teknolohiya. Alamin sa programang Pinoy Scientist. Tuwing linggo, alas 5 ng hapon hanggang alas 6 ng gabi. Pinoy Scientist. KBP Best Science and Technology Radio Program. Pinoy Scientist. Dito sa Radyo Agila.
Sunday, September 3, 2023. It's 5:02 p.m. This is Dr. Guido David. You're listening to Pinoy Scientist on Radyo Agila DZEC and 62 Mega Manila. So this is Pinoy Scientist and aking inyong host. On behalf of my fellow co-hosts, si Dr. JD and Dr. Custer. Of course, we do a rotation. So it's the first Sunday of the month, and aking inyong host. And welcome everyone. And in a while, we will have our esteemed guest, who I've been looking to interview for some time now. So finally, she has some, available time for us. I will introduce her later, but she's a renowned Filipina astrophysicist. So ayan, I'll introduce you in a while. But first, I just have some greetings. Firstly, sa homecoming, Philippine Science High School homecoming, which happened September 2, yesterday lang. And so I'd like to greet a lot of the people I met there. I can't greet everyone, but of course, I met the chancellor there, attorney Carlo Vistan, and he's an alumni also. Also met for the first time in person si Dr. John D. Flavier, and a few old friends like sina Dr. Lair and some people I just met for the first time like sina Dr. Johnny and Dr. Risa, sina Professor Mara. And a few more, but my memory is not so good, so don't be, there's too many of you. And of course, some of my former faculty there in high school, sina Dr. Jess Yason, Professor Docto, and a few more I met. And of course, PSH's main campus, PSH's main campus director, which Dr. Madriaga. Aside from my friends, of course, and congratulations to the attendees, to the winners of the events, to the winners of the Battle of the Bands, kasi historically, medyo musically oriented din yung mga ating science high school students. And wala si Dr. JD so far, so ako na magbabasa ng poem that she writes every week for our episode. And ito yung poetry na. Ano ang astrophysics? Isang paksang may kinalaman sa astronomiya, mga bituin at celestial bodies ang puntirya na nasa kalawakang tinitinggala ng bawat isa, pero laws and theories ng physics ay kasama. Kaya ating pakilala ang pinakabidang panauhin, isang astrophysicist kung siya ay tawagin. Associate Professor Reyna Reyes, ang nais kong tinutukuyin sa UP Diliman National Institute of Physics o NIP ang acronym. Basta Bata pa lamang ay magaling na siya sa siyensya. High school ay sa Philippine Science niyan kinuha. Sa Ateneo de Manila ay summa cum laude ang medalya. BS Physics ang kursong doon ay tinapos niya. Kumuha rin ng diploma sa High Energy Physics sa Trieste, Italy, International Center for Theoretical Physics. Sinunod sa Princeton University, New Jersey, ay doktoradong ninanais. Patuloy na nagpakadalubhasa sa larang niyang inibig. Kauna-unahang Filipina kasama sa grupong nagpatatag nitong theory of relativity ni Einstein ay tiniyak noong nasa Princeton University siya. Kung balikang ganap, marami rin siyang mga pagkilalang natanggap. Sa huli, di talaga maraming kababaihan ang astrophysicist. Ah, kaya naman, nakahanga siya talaga ng labis. Sana marami pa sa ating kabataan ang salarang ay mapaibig parang astronomiya sa bansa ay mapaunlad sa bukas na nalalapit. Salamat po, happiness again. Yan yung from Dr. JD. We'll be back after these few reminders and then we'll be back to introduce our guest, si Dr. Reina Reyes.
EBC, Eagle Broadcasting Corporation. Ito ang Radyo Agila.
Ang oras na ito ay hatid sa inyo ng Cable Link, your link to a world-class entertainment.
Mga bagong kaalaman sa siyensya at teknolohiya. Alamin sa programang Pinoy Scientist. Tuwing linggo, alas 5 ng hapon hanggang alas 6 ng gabi. Pinoy Scientist. KBP Best Science and Technology Radio Program. Pinoy Scientist. Dito sa Radyo Agila.
Happy Sunday, September 3, 5:08 p.m. now. So this is Dr. Guida David on Radyo Agila DZEC 1062 Mega Manila, and joining us, at least for the first time, but I've met her na in person. One of my favorite celebrity scientists, si Dr. Reina Reyes. So good afternoon, Dr. Reina.
Good afternoon, Doc Guido, and to everyone who is listening. It's a pleasure to joining you this rainy Sunday afternoon.
Rainy, that sounds like your name, pero are you the harbinger of rain pa? Hindi naman.
Hindi naman po, sakto lang.
So you're joining us from Laguna ba or something?
Yes, sa Laguna, sa bahay lang po.
Nasa bahay ka, okay. Hindi naman dyan, mas hindi naman siguro bumabaha dyan.
Thankfully, hindi naman sobrang baha. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thankfully. And I not mentioned this poetry. Si Dr. Reina is a recent recipient also of the Outstanding Young Scientist Award. So congratulations din, Dr. Reina.
Thank you. It's good seeing you there sa meeting ng OIS.
Yeah, good seeing you. I came in late, so wala na akong naabutan halos. And I wasn't able to attend the awarding, so I apologize. Alam mo na, medyo busy. So I want to tackle a few things lang. We'll start with your background muna. So para mapakilala ka namin. Although before I start there, napansin ko dati, I mean, I was a bit uneasy before because I noticed na meron kang Pinoy Scientist din.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not sure what it was kasi this Pinoy Scientist, you have Pinoy Scientists, and this Pinoy Scientist was actually this program, was started by Dr. Castor Diocaris, also a PSHS, PSHS alumni. So he's been hosting this program, I think maybe 10 years now, or more than 10 years, and then we just joined this. Because wala lang. So, ano ba yung Pinoy Scientists na yun? I mean,
yes.
So we can clarify.
Yes, so Pinoy Scientist with may S sa dulo.
May S sa dulo.
May S sa dulo. We're on Instagram and Facebook. So, social media pages siya. May different Pinoy Scientists nga, Filipino and Filipina scientists, take over the page every
I
week.
see. I see.
And then they share about their work, their research, their advocacies, and then they can interact directly with the followers or the people who are interested. Many who are ano din, young aspiring scientists, high school or in college. Um, so yun, we just had our fourth year anniversary.
Wow.
Instagram takeovers, and then it's also on Facebook. So yes, we just had also an event. So we're starting to organize events as well. So online event, which was a panel discussion with Pinoy scientists. So I moderated one panel, and then my co-founder Cami Navarro moderated another panel where we talk about paths, different paths into science and going to STEM careers. So there's my panel is like a more academic path, so mas traditional ba, like ako, I'm in the university. And then yung panel ni Cami is actually more interesting. Well, both of them are interesting, pero we also invited guests from which are in alternative paths, or parang they found their own way. For example, there's a scientific illustrator, so na combine yung science and art. She works at the National Museum of the Philippines, si Miss Isa Domingo. And then one is a forensic anthropologist, and then another is a marine economist. So we want to show young people that there are many, ano, di ba? There are many paths, many ways. And then na-discuss din doon, kailangan ba mataas ang grades mo para maging scientist? Like, hindi naman, di ba? And all these different scientists get to share their experiences and also give advice. So yun yung mission nung organization, is to bring science closer to the Filipinos. And the way we're doing that is by bringing the scientists themselves, their stories and their ano. And then on the side of the scientists naman, it's also a way for them to to have a platform to reach more people and also practice their communication skills, because as you know, hindi rin naman tayo nate-train doon. Like of course, when we train in our specializations, research, science, very technical. Pero at the same time, there's also this other skill of communicating it to the public, like you are doing. So in a way, this is like a mini or entry point for them, kasi it's just 1 week. And then, of course, then they can also share yung kanilang own Instagram pages or their own websites or blogs that they are part of. And then it becomes like a community of science and then communicators.
So basically, it's like a platform for networking scientists with non-scientists. Well, scientists among themselves,
correct.
and then also linking scientists with non-scientists or
Right, or
non-STEM.
aspiring
Aspiring scientists, mga
Right.
STEM students, for
Yes,
example.
definitely.
Yeah, that's a very good, a very good and very interesting endeavor of yours. So I respect that and I'm proud of that. Para sa mga viewers and listeners, I mean, like I mentioned kanina, I mean, there seems to be like a slight, not really overlap, but like a similarity in names, like Pinoy Scientist, and then you have Pinoy Scientists. But in the scheme of things, the way I see it, science is supposed to be selfless, right? And science is about giving and helping people and humans. And there's no, for me, I mean, once in science, yes, science can be used for business, and it is used for business talaga. And and we recognize that. And there are businessmen, business people na, I mean, there's such things as ano naman, uh, yung intellectual property and stuff like that, because because that's the way capitalism works. We're in a capitalist society, but I mean, I see science as selfless and a way for people to help one another. For scientists, I mean, after all, yung progress in civilization in history would not have happened without science, and would not have happened without people like yourself and using science. So I very much respect And I'm proud of yung ginawa nyo sa Pinoy Scientist. I hope maybe someday I will be able to contribute something there to
Yes,
the
oo, oo,
discourse and the discussion. Yun nga, we
definitely.
just have
Oh,
similar,
we're in the same, ano naman, boat. Yes.
yes, about bringing
Science.
science to the community. Yeah. So let's rewind a little bit, Dr. Reina. So going back, kasi when I was small, I remember I used to love astronomy actually,
Mhm.
and when I was in grade 2, grade 3, I was an astronomy geek. I would memorize all the constellations in the sky, and I was a bit disappointed at that time kasi when I was young, syempre limited na yung references, and the constellations were all in the North American side.
Mhm.
So sabi ko, some of these constellations, I don't know what they are. They're near the south,
Here.
na, so or towards the equator. So, but that's just astronomy. That's just looking at stars. But I was also, I thought I wanted to be an astrophysicist, but I never got to be one. I became a mathematician and a bioengineer. I do different aspects of applied mathematics. But anyway, I mean, not to take too much in the intro, but how did you get into astrophysics? Because I'm just giving I'm setting
Your
mo that
story,
because
yes, the story,
because
the,
yes,
the origin story. No, but actually, your story is actually very, yun nga, very relatable. Kasi a lot of kids, me as well, I fascinated by, di ba, by the space,
right,
by other planets, what it's like to go to Mars or
right,
Mercury, even Pluto, di ba? Tapos biglang hindi na pala siya planet. Di ba? Some kids really feel strongly about this. And then may mga planet songs. So, um, I actually now think of astronomy as a gateway science.
Mhm.
Like parang gateway drug, di ba? Pero in a good way, di ba? Na yung interest in astronomy usually can be, yun nga, transforms into, di ba? Pwedeng engineering, di ba?
Right.
Kasi rockets or biology, kasi you think about life in other planets or elsewhere in the universe. Or cosmology, in my case, my entry point was cosmology, like studying the universe as a whole. Pero yung kwento ko talaga, kung may oras naman tayo, pwede ko ikwento yung
Sure.
kwento ko.
Yeah.
So yung kwento ko is, yun nga, fascinated by astronomy, but also dinosaurs. Actually, isa rin yan, di ba? Yung
Wow.
ontology,
I'm also fascinated with dinosaurs.
mga Jurassic period, Jurassic period. So, I guess early interest in science. And
Did it
then,
start with high school when you were in high school? Did it start na? Because you went to Philippine Science High School, as I mentioned.
yeah,
So
like earlier, so grade school,
earlier.
I was in a Chinese high school, Jubilee Christian Academy. And then, sumasali na rin kami sa mga math contest, sa mga science contest. And then actually, I learned about Philippine Science High School. Um, And then I told my parents na I want to go to that school. So they were not aware kasi sa Chinese community parang hindi naman siya ganun
Right.
alam. So most people just go to, 'di ba? May high school din naman sa Jubilee. But mabait yung parents ko, yun nga parang nakita nila yung interest, and then yung parang yun nga mataas naman yung grades niya. So nag-inquire sila, dati telepono pa. Tapos ang nakausap naman yung mami ko si Ma'am Flor Serrano, who's just a long time registrar. Tapos ang bait naman, yun nga, and then kumuha ng forms, and then I actually took the exam. So Philippine Science was a big part of my journey rin, as for many of us na alumni, na parang na-steer na dun sa magiging science na part. And then from there, dun ko na-discover na physics pala yung
Yung gusto mo.
science to understand, yun nga, the planets, the
Yes.
whole universe. That's why I went into physics in college. And then dun sa ICTP, yung nabanggit mo yung sa Trieste, International Center for Theoretical Physics, I actually did a diploma in high energy physics, which
Wow.
is also called particle physics. Yung theory to understand the very fundamental particles of matter. So yung mas maliit pa sa atoms, so electrons, protons, quarks. Because I wanted to understand, yun nga, parang the fundamental laws that govern the universe. And then from there, I got interested in sa cosmology and the interface between particle physics and cosmology. Okay, and then another step, when I was applying to graduate programs na PhD programs nga in the US, um, uh, may nagsabi sa akin na yung sa Princeton, there's a separate astrophysics department from their physics department. So both are very, of course, very good, but mas malaki, mas intimidating yung physics department, and then the astrophysics department is parang smaller and friendlier. And then I was so lucky na I got into the astrophysics department. So that actually that changed the course of my my research career. And then ayun, and then I became an astrophysicist. So I learned all about, so parang in a way full circle siya, balik sa stars, galaxies, universe as a whole. And I also tell this story in a way to say na yun nga, there are many different paths. So in my case, it was not like yun na yung gusto ko and then I just stayed on the path. There are also parang elements of yun nga, luck or opportunities that come your way, di ba? The people you meet. So yung naging advisor ko dun sa Italy was the one who also gave a good recommendation dun sa Princeton, and then yun nga opened up these doors. So for the young people, yun nga na parang hindi pa sila sure, ganyan, I always say na parang just be open, di ba? Kasi sometimes yun nga, it's a confluence of what you want and what you bring in, but also what the opportunities are around you and the confluence of events, di ba? So in my case, yun, very lucky naman na confluence of events that made me an astrophysicist today.
Yeah, tama yung mga sinabi ni Dr. Reyna sa mga viewers and listeners natin, na it's a confluence of factors, and luck is one of the factors, and opportunities. Of course, if we don't work hard at what we do, sometimes these opportunities don't come. But we set up the stage for these opportunities. Then, kumaga, it will knock if our door is is available, or if our door is already built. Pero so basically, you're saying na yung CHEST happened before Princeton, right? But it went after you did your undergraduate sa Ateneo, tama ba? So it was like something intermediary, but it was not a master's degree. It was a short program.
Yes. 1-year diploma. It's like a bridging program for students from developing countries. Actually, it's a great yung ICTP, Abdus Salam, the first Nobel Prize physics winner from the South, from Pakistan actually. So he saw na yun nga na syempre may inequality in opportunities, in resources. So he set up that institution to be a hub for scientists from developing countries. So including yun nga yung mga young ones, so straight from your undergrad, and then to give us a better opportunity to get into graduate programs in Europe and in the US and in other advanced countries. There's like a diploma program that gives you training in advanced physics na rin, and then a chance also to do some research. And then of course the networking really matters, no? So of course the faculty there, the scientists there have their networks in Europe, then in the US, and then they help us apply and then recommend us, since yun nga kung okay naman yung parang we've proven that we actually know the fundamentals, and we work hard, we have the right attitude, and we really are motivated to become physicists. They recommend us to the different universities na, and a lot of my peers, we eventually became professional physicists in different parts of the world.
But this is a trajectory I was not really familiar with, or a pathway na I was not really familiar with dati. I mean, yung alam ko is parang, yun nga, you do your undergraduate and then you apply straight to master's or PhD, like say in the US. So it's actually very interesting na you went through a bridging program. And would you say na it helped you a lot to get into a university like Princeton, which of course, I mean, I'm sure haven't checked the rankings for physics, but I'm sure if it's not number one, it's at least in the top 5.
Definitely. Definitely, yes. I mentioned yung naging advisor ko eventually doon for the research project. Si Uros Celiac happened to be a former Princeton professor. And at that time, I actually did not get him because, as a as to give to
As a reference.
my recommendation letter because I didn't have him as a teacher, so he didn't teach. Actually, I didn't know him yet. Although I was already parang summoning the courage to introduce myself and ask him to be my advisor for the project. So I got my recommendation letters from my professors dun sa mga nagturo ng subjects. But what happened was, he actually contacted me because he said that Princeton got my application and then reached out to him to ask him about me. So, parang, of course, because they would parang give more weight to the opinion of someone who they know are familiar with, di ba? The types of students they get and the types of, parang their standards, kumbaga. So they asked him to, so basically he asked my professors, parang ganun yung nangyari. Tapos parang, okay, I hope they say good things about me.
Hopefully.
And then yun nga, mukha namang positive yung feedback. So that's how that's part of how I got accepted. I think because nga they put weight on the opinion of someone they know. And then when I was there, during my PhD, I actually kept working with him. So this paper on the yung confirming Einstein's theory of general relativity is actually with Uros, and his student when he was at Princeton who at that time naman became a postdoc at the Institute of Advanced Studies, IAS. She's also in Princeton, and that where Einstein stayed in his US career. So basically, Uros said, my student is still there. You can collaborate. So I met with Rachel Mandelbaum, and then we communicate with Uros by email, and hindi pa Zoom noon, I guess. But ayun, and then I have also an advisor from my department, yung sa astrophysics department. And ang naging advisor ko, PhD advisor ko, eventually is si Professor Jim Gunn, who's a wonderful person as well.
And he's still there with Princeton, Professor Jim Gunn, or is he retired?
I believe, pero more of I think
emeritus.
Retired na rin, yes.
Or retired na rin. He must be, fairly old na rin, right?
But still very active. Yes.
Still very active.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're gonna take a quick break, pero after the break, we'll talk a little bit about your dissertation, and then and then we'll try to laymanize it, and then from there we'll go to what you're currently doing. So Pinoy Scientist will be back after these few reminders, so stay tuned. Thank you.
EBC, Eagle Broadcasting Corporation. Ito ang Radyo Agila.
Mahigit sa 700 milyon na ang may edad 65 pataas sa buong mundo at madodoble pa ang bilang sa 2050. Japan ang may pinakamataas na bilang ng aging population, sumusunod ang Italy, Finland, Portugal at Greece. At dahil nagmamalasakit ang Radyo Agila sa kapakanan ng ating mga nakatatanda, narito ang aming paalala kung paano maging malusog at aktibo ang utak. Pag-inom ng tubig ng 6 hanggang 8 baso kada araw para ma-improve ang memorya at konsentrasyon. Pagkakaroon ng healthy diet, mas maraming gulay, prutas at isda, mas mabuti, hindi lamang sa katawan, maging sa kaisipan. Ang pagkakaroon ng sapat na tulog at exercise ay makatutulong din. Ayon na rin sa mga eksperto, ang pagsagot sa crossword puzzle ay nakapagpapababa ng panganib sa Alzheimer's disease. Importanteng habang nagkakaedad ay maging aktibo at malusog ang ating utak.
Mga bagong kaalaman sa siyensya at teknolohiya. Alamin sa programang Pinoy Scientist. Tuwing linggo, alas 5 ng hapon hanggang alas 6 ng gabi. Pinoy Scientist. KBP Best Science and Technology Radio Program. Pinoy Scientist. Dito sa Radyo Agila.
Happy Sunday, September 3, 5:31 p.m. Nagbabalik ang Pinoy Scientist with your host, Dr. Guido David on Octa Hour. On behalf of my co-hosts, Dr. Castor Diocares and Dr. JD Agapito. Batiin ko lang some of my Twitter followers na nagpapag-greet usually si Blank Epoch, Raya 2.0, I am Negatron, GG, Lay Sampi, Franel, Manuel Tesson, Joyce, Braille Gonzalez, Bing Salvador, Jet, and some of my other friends din na hindi ko pa nabate. September, wala ako masyadong friends na may, or wala akong naalala masyadong birthdays. But we're welcoming back si Dr. Reyna Reyes, the celebrity scientist. And you know, in the first half of this segment, we talked about some of your part of your background from high school. You went full circle, from high school to graduate school to Princeton, and then you went full circle back to your childhood dreams, which is not very, it doesn't happen a lot of times because, when I was a child, a lot of my classmates parang dream nila when they're asked sa LM, what do you want to be when you grow up? And a lot of times they say, to be an astronaut.
Yes, actually, me too. That was my dream.
Because it sounds exciting, diba, to be an astronaut. But then you realize when you grow up, okay, it's really tough to become one. Especially from, coming from our background, and there's physical requirements to that. I do know a lot of people na they wanted to be a doctor when they, and being a medical doctor, I guess is more, a more reasonable goal. I didn't think I'd become a mathematician. Pero you became an astrophysicist, but you're a physicist and you're also a data scientist. But before we get to that, so yung dissertation mo in Princeton, this has to do with the one part of yung confirming Einstein's general theory of relativity. And I can imagine many listeners may not be very familiar with the. They might have heard of the general theory of relativity, but not very familiar with it. But can you, at least maybe describe your dissertation in a way na you think? Since you're a science communicator as well,
I try.
You try.
I will try.
So this is a challenge for you.
Yes, just to share. It's a good example rin of how science works, because in science, there is theory and the theory of general relativity nga of Einstein, which describes gravity as curvature of space-time, is a very beautiful theory, highly mathematical, and that's why actually we don't even get to learn it in undergrad physics. You learn it in a higher graduate school physics, but the general idea is that you have these formulas, and it tells you the behavior of the universe, or what, diba? In particular, how the universe expands. So you know that you may have heard that the universe is expanding, moving out. All the galaxies that we are looking at, far away galaxies, are moving away from us, and it's telling us that the universe is expanding. And the beautiful thing is that the theory can actually, the beautiful thing in science is that we want to test whether what the theory predicts matches what we actually observe. So in this case, we actually observe the galaxies, and we observe the surprise is that the universe is not only expanding, but the expansion is accelerating. Pabilis yung paglalayo ng mga galaxies. And actually, this is still a puzzle in cosmology today, because if okay, paano I explain? Because the theory of general relativity, for it to explain, for it to match the what we observe, the expansion and the accelerating expansion, you have to postulate what is called the dark energy, which is something that we actually don't know what it is, but it's an energy with a repulsive force that will make the universe accelerate in expansion. And if you plug that in the formula ni Einstein, then you can match the observations. But it's also perfectly possible that you have alternate theories of gravity, meaning some of them, they start with Einstein's formulas then, and then you add a term, you add different terms, and then that could also describe the universe. Right? So that's science. Theories can come up with different formulas, different ways to describe the universe. But at the end of the day, we have to test. We have to actually do the experiment, or in our case, we have to observe galaxies and then check whether the observations match the theory. And that's how we say we confirm theories, if the observations match the predictions of the theory. So that the project, that part of my dissertation is actually doing that test. So we have observations from hundreds of thousands of galaxies from the Sloan Digital Sky Survey, which essentially observed different parts of the sky over many years. And from there, we can make very detailed calculations. And in particular, there's a test. So, in fact, we did not come up with this test. This test was published in a paper by theoretical cosmologists. And they had an idea. They said that if you have a survey like this and you can measure the gravitational lensing signature, as well as the velocities, galaxy velocities, and then you calculate this particular quantity, E sub g, yun yung pangalan nila dun sa paper nila, so we followed it, E sub g. If you calculate this, this can be a test of gravity theories, because different gravity theories predict different values for E sub g. And in particular, Einstein's theory of general relativity predicts a certain value, 0.4. So if you actually do the measurement and get 0.4, it means it's consistent with general relativity. But if it's much lower, then it means it's favoring other alternative theories of gravity. So the idea was, let's actually perform this measurement with the observations that we have. And so I spent many months doing that, working on the calculations. Actually, a lot of it is programming. So, right, because a lot of this is now data in images, and then you make measurements of the images, and then it becomes like numbers, because we actually measure the shapes of galaxies. And then, of course, you code up the formulas, and then you come up with the answer, which is actually a plot of E sub g, and then for different distances. And then you get dots with error bars. The error bars, of course, tell you the uncertainty, because no measurement is perfect. And this actually, we have large error bars, but it's a proof of concept that this kind of test can be done. And also the other result is that when you look at these data points, these measurements, and then you compare it with the prediction of general relativity, it's right in the middle of it. So it's
So the average value is
yes, more like you have a band, and then the band's,
the mean of the band
coincide, overlap.
is
Yes,
the 0.4.
yes, it's a point 4 exactly. You get point 4. We got point 4. So that's the result. Like we didn't know that coming in. That's what we found. So hindi naman yun. Well, yun nga yung sa science, di ba? Of
Right.
course, there are rare cases na people actually fake their data or, di ba, tweak
Yeah,
their
we
data.
don't like that.
We
We,
don't like
we
that.
don't like that, right?
It's really no. So we just, put in the formulas, and then we got that result. Actually, it would have been more interesting if it did not match, right? Because
Yeah.
then it would be like could be a groundbreaking observation, but it still matched. But yun nga, so it's a confirmation, and it's actually novel also because it's one of the first confirmations on large scales. Because yun nga, you need these galaxies are far away from us, and still they follow what Einstein's theory predicts. So that's the paper, and that became part of my PhD dissertation as well at Princeton.
Congratulations. When was this done, Dr. Reyna? This
Yeah,
paper?
actually a long time ago now, because we published the paper in 2010.
2010, so about 13 years ago. With the advent of the newer, has this calculation be recomputed with the, syempre we have the James Webb telescope now, and they're capturing further images or images even further away than what we had previously, Siguro 13 years ago. So have they done recalculated these things, or
Yes,
still na?
yes, definitely. So the newer surveys, there's something called the dark energy survey, and actually they can do even better because they see out farther, and so see fainter galaxies. And now you can also do it by what we say redshift, right? Like different distances, but also in astronomy, in cosmology, the fascinating thing is as you look out farther away, you're also looking to the past. You're looking to the past of the universe because light takes time to travel, and these galaxies are so far away that light took millions, even billions of years to get to our telescopes. So we get to see that evolution. We say the evolution, and then of course you also plug that into the formulas, and then you try to match. So far, it's still Einstein's general relativity. It's still
So it's still consistent, the results.
It's still consistent. But there's another tension. There's another puzzle in cosmology. It's called the Hubble tension, and that's really the lot of activity there now because yun nga, again, theorists trying to come up with alternate theories to explain the tension, while observers are trying to check very much check very rigorously the different measurements, and because it's also complicated, right? There are many effects factors that have to be taken into account. But so far, there's a tension or difference between the Hubble parameter that's being measured from local, let's say, or nearby sources, and then the Hubble parameter from the cosmic microwave background, which is from the close to the beginning of the big, just right after the Big Bang, and that's not expected. But again, that's how science progresses. There are puzzles, and then scientists try to figure it out, and over decades, or depends how long it gets resolved one way or another. But we are part of just that. I mean, trying to figure it out.
So would you say would you consider yourself a theoretical physics or an experimental physics in that regard? Because you mostly did calculations, but I think that's still in the realm of theoretical physics, tama ba?
Actually, I sit in the interface
Okay.
of observational. In that case, right? So, but I actually I called myself an observational astrophysicist because I actually did observations. So the cool thing now also is that you don't have to do observations because there are all these surveys, and then we can actually use the data. And even now here at the work we do at the National Institute of Physics, we are leveraging the publicly available data from these different collaborations and observatories. So we call right now I'm calling it. This is also called data-driven astronomy. So
Wow.
we
I like that.
data analysis, right? Because we don't actually have to go to the telescope. Although I did that during my PhD, I also observed individually 99 galaxies and did observing at night, like you get time on a telescope, and then in that case remote observing already. So I was at Princeton, the telescope was in New Mexico, but I log in and then I chat with the telescope operator. So I actually did some observing
Oh, so you
direct.
can do the remote observation. You don't have to be in New Mexico.
Yes,
They
yes,
can because of the online thing now. They can just.
yes,
But
yes. Then you
it
put the
looks like you're looking.
coordinates.
Yeah.
You put the coordinates, and then the telescope points there, and then the
Wow.
images get downloaded, and then you see the galaxy. In my case, there was I'm taking slit spectroscopy, so you see the galaxy there like a blob, and then the slit. And then because the telescope's pointing is not perfect, I have to manually adjust the slit. So sometimes if it's not in the center anymore, you put in a zero point 0.5 parsec north, so it will move. So that's my job. That's your job at night. You have to keep watching that because, of course, if it's not centered, you don't get the light, the maximum amount of light. And then observing conditions change. So if it's cloudy, then you cannot observe. I also had the opportunity to observe in Chile. Parang nakasama ko sa project ng postdoc. So I have some observing experience. But now, yes, we rely on the data that's been observed, but it's been collected by large collaborations. Although now I am happy to say, excited also because we have a new collaborator who is a Filipina American astronomer,
Wow.
who's currently used to be just finished postdoc at Stanford and now starting faculty position at Amherst College. And she
In
has
Boston.
access to telescope time, and so wow, okay, so we get to and then maybe if we get remote observing capabilities, then why not? Maybe in the future we can have Filipino astronomers observing from here and then controlling telescopes in the US or elsewhere. Um, we just have to have very good internet. So that's
Yeah, of course. That's
that's
the
our
challenge.
requirement. Yes.
Yeah, maybe pag what's I think internet ni Elon Musk, maybe we could have more of that satellite
Satellite.
internet. What you There's something you mentioned na it's hindi naman bugging me, but it's about you said that the right now the expansion is still accelerating. I
Right.
mean, because just to put it in something, not to lamanize it, pero an example is that if you throw a ball up,
Mhm.
it's essentially decelerating even at the outset. But you could have something that may be initially accelerating, like rock, something that has propulsion. Um, my only experience with physics is reading Stephen Hawking's book, and he gave some scenarios there about if the universe is has a decelerating expansion, or if it's steady, um, and if it's decelerating eventually. What I remember is that he said it will lead to a big crunch or something, and then we might be back to where we came from. But this is quite interesting that it's expanding continuously. Do you think, I mean, I don't know if we have the capability to answer this, but do you think it will eventually slow down, or does it look like it's not, because it's been several billion years already and it's still expanding? And wouldn't expanding a continuously expanding universe somehow make it I think this was the concern that the objects in the universe would be too
Far away.
far apart. Yes, exactly.
Yes, yes. And then the eventual death is being called the big rip, when parang space-time itself
Will rip.
will
Okay,
rip
so
apart.
that's the other
Yeah,
option.
that's the
Yeah,
other option.
or yeah, alternative. Yeah.
Alternative, yes. But also interesting, there's this paper, astronomers are scientists are clever kind. So when, because as you rightly pointed out, at some point the galaxies will be so far away, accelerated away from being observed. Being
Right.
observed. So there's actually just this point in time, or of course in cosmological time scales, there's this window in time where you can have astronomy that we can actually observe these galaxies. And someone computed that at some point, you will see only the galaxies within our local cluster, because we are gravitationally bound together. So if you're gravitationally bound together, you will stay together. But all the galaxies that are just expanding away will be too faint
Will
to
not be bound.
observe.
Okay.
Hmm. But of course, that's a hypothetical scenario. But actually, some scientists think that's also, and that's also actually part of my project when I was in Italy, in ICTP, is this cosmic coincidence problem, that we're actually living at a time when the expansion just started accelerating. Um, and is that significant in terms of the fact that we just happen to be it just happen to be that way, or is there some reason why that is? And that's connected to the anthropic principle, which you may have encountered, where you can explain some things because if they were otherwise, then we would not be here. We would not exist.
Right.
Like if there was no way to create heavier elements than hydrogen and helium, then there would be no carbon, no calcium that
No,
make us up, no
no
living
living being things. Yeah.
people, no scientists to study the universe.
Right.
Very, very, very interesting also line of philosophy, that parang intersection between philosophy and science.
And it might also tie into something more spiritual because I mean,
Yes.
yeah, because we can't preclude anything. I mean, even as scientists. But um, s- well, those are very interesting. And I did get to cover a lot of what I wanted to talk to you about kasi meron pa mga other aspects. Maybe I'll have you over again if that's possible, or maybe we could chat in the meantime. So you went back and you decided to, you know, not pursue a career in the US. I'm sure you probably would have had offers if you wanted, but being a graduate of Princeton and with this, groundbreaking findings, and you went back, and now you're the professor at the National Institute of Physics. So what guided your decision, career-wise, to go in that direction?
Right. That's actually the question I get the most, even from just people I meet, and also young people, I guess, who are also thinking about the same, about their careers. Right. For me, actually, I call it an early quarter life crisis, because I was at the time in my late 20s,
Okay.
very young. Looking back now, no? Very young. But I think even at that point, I already sensed that um, I wanted to um, have a contribution um, to um, to nation building. Is it not?
Mhm.
Is it okay to say that?
Sure.
To parang not just not, I guess, not just the science itself, or discovering the science, but also um, how that connects to the wider, to the wider society, and ayun, and that was a big part of my decision on whether to stay or to come back. So I said either I stay here, have my scientific career here, and then come back when I'm retired, which I've seen also many people do, and they're also successful in many ways. But I said, why not come back now and then spend my productive years in my career here in the country, and then hopefully with that I could also be more more useful in time. So that was the idea, and I think it sort of worked in a way.
Is it working for you?
No regrets, no regrets.
No regrets.
No regrets. But of course, I couldn't have charted also the path, no? But that's also part of it, right? It's exciting because you don't know what will come next. Again, you just have to be open to the opportunities. So for me, for example, I think it's a much richer career because in addition to just to the academic research, I also engage with with the data science consulting. Also, I engage with companies, I engage with organizations, with the development sector. I also have these outreach activities with Pinoy Scientist and other engagements and collaborations. And I realized now I'm actually a very collaborative person. So I actually enjoy working with others, working in teams, and yes, and my career here is allowing me to do that.
Yeah, and I think you have the opportunities, and I mean, you probably can't say you're better off with in some other. I mean, aside from the being a patriot, which is what you are, and you help negate the effects of brain drain, which we were having, sometime, maybe in the past 20 to 30 years. And it's good that more Filipinos are coming back to the Philippines, such as yourself, to contribute. And for the other, for the viewers and listeners, the young, aspiring scientists, there are opportunities available even in a third world country like ours, for your career. So, sorry, we only have about 1 minute left. I think we're going to be cut off at any time. But could you, Anna, do you have any last words or, I mean, not last words, but, final comments? Yes.
No, thank you again. Thank you so much for this opportunity. It's very enjoyable conversation, and I think that's a good place to end, or to say there is opportunity here to do science in the country. Of course, we are here. The scientists here are here to guide you, mentor you, and it's there. There will be. We wouldn't say it's not challenging. Of course, it will be challenging, but we will be tackling these challenges together. So that's the fun also in it.
Thank you. So that was Dr. Reina Reyes of the National Institute of Physics, and this is Dr. Guido of Pinoy Scientist signing off. See you next one.
Five decades of excellence